Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Scratch the Track podcast presented by the Dude and Grim Show. I am the Dude.
And I am Grim. And dude, this fine day we are going to be discussing the Moon and Antarctica by Modest Mouse.
Hell yeah, and it's going to be a good one. Now, for all you first timers to this podcast, we are the podcast where we pick our favorite albums, we discuss them, and we discuss each track on the album.
Yep, and where it kind of comes to the crux of it is, if you can remember a time before streaming services, MP3s, and even when you could just burn CDs, rip them very conveniently, you had a vinyl, you had a CD, and inevitably something was getting scratched. Well, in this game, we choose which one we would scratch, which track we would scratch off. Hence the name.
Scratch a track. And the fun thing about it is not only do we get to scratch, but you get to scratch as well.
And we'd like to hear them and why. I'm always interested
Absolutely.
to hear what people would scratch.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we get into it, Graham, we would love for everyone here, whether it's your first time, your last time, or your second time, or another time, to go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment below.
Please do.
Yes. And when you do comment below, feel free to disagree with us, disagree with our scratches. Let us know what track you would scratch.
Yeah.
And above all, don't be that person that says, this album's perfect, I wouldn't scratch anything. We get it. We're picking amazing albums.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily do that either. But if I had to, because I've had to and didn't get to pick it before. So,
yeah, right? Exactly.
It's life's a bitch like that. But,
It is. Well, you know what else is? Well, actually, it's not a bitch. Modest Mouse, by the time this album came out, their previous album, Lonesome Crowded West, was kind of a big deal. Like that really took them to another level. And this album, Moon and Antarctica, was kind of their first. They were with a major label now, right?
Yeah.
They signed with Epic. So I think there was maybe some trepidation amongst fans who thought, oh, now they're going all commercial. We liked them when they were this kind of small independent band.
Yeah.
And I think, maybe, I don't know if they got some flack for it, but at least I don't know what your feeling is. This album to me, and we can talk a little bit about good news for people who love bad news and stuff. This is definitely not any sort of a sellout album in my mind.
No, I don't think so. And a couple of shout outs to Mr. Alex Furta, who they used to refer to as Furby. He was the guy who got me on Modest Mouse, and I remember him being all jacked up about this album because this was their new album at the time,
right?
And I think he probably gave me like most of their stuff to check out at once, and I mean this was certainly like a different level, but like you said, by no means selling out. I didn't think so. I just think they had a budget, and so it's like once you have a budget, you're gonna do things that you didn't have the time or the money to even think about trying before.
Well, right, and we've if you haven't seen our previous episode on the Lonesome Crowded West, check that scratch out. It's a fun album and one of our favorites. And there's a great documentary that Pitchfork did about the making of Lonesome Crowded West. And in that documentary, they talk about the recording process. And dude, it's basically like sleeping on couches and staying up all night and record until they just basically can't stay awake anymore. And then, going to sleep for a few hours, then you come back the next day and they just do that every day for weeks straight. This was a little bit different of experience. Again, they're on a label, and they actually recorded it at it's called Clava Studios in Chicago, and it was the first record to be recorded at that studio by this guy named Brian Deck, who was in a band called Red Red Meat that Modest Mouse had. I wouldn't say they toured with. They were on the same bill. I think they played some shows. I want to say it was in Detroit. They played some shows with that band, and I think Isaac Brock and Brian Deck kind of hit it off a little bit, and they lost touch, but then they got back in touch, a couple years later, and he was more into producing, and so they went there to record the album. And it sounds like the studio wasn't even done.
Yeah, they were still putting up like drywall up.
Yeah, dude, it reminds me of a little bit of what's Dave Friedman's studio? Is it Tarbox? Is that what he calls it?
Studios.
Yeah. That's kind of what they did when they were when the Flaming Lips were recording the Soft Bulletin. They had money, they had a budget, and they just said, "Well, we'll just like kind of build out this studio and do that." So like that one wasn't even completed when they started recording their albums. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and I think it's you know, the jump in production is so noticeable. So it sounds like they had some songs that would eventually make it on this, I think, on this album, and some that became this EP. What was the name of the EP? I had it.
Well, there's two. So there's Night on the Sun.
Night on the
EP.
Sun. That's it.
But then there's Everywhere in His Nasty Bag of Parlor Tricks.
Oh, yeah.
There's another version of like I Came as a Rat is on that.
Yes.
But I love both of those.
I do too.
But
and it said that Phil Eck, I think, recorded who did some of the work on Lonesome
demos.
Crowded West. He did some of those demos, which I think ended up on that, and then Brian Deck, Phil Eck, Brian Deck, did this one, and I think an incredible job because they really explored the space, and it sounds like the Moon and or Antarctica.
Yeah, it really I don't know if I'd say they went full glacial on this album, but it definitely has more. The
title would imply so.
It would. It definitely has more of an expansive sound than the Lonesome Crowded West. I feel like the Lonesome Crowded West just hits you in the face like one song after another for the most part. This one, I feel like there are peaks and valleys as far as the sound and the tempo, but not as I feel like it's just not as much or as aggressive consistently as maybe the Lonesome Crowded West is.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
They do leave a little space in some of the songs. They get a little trippy. I kind of like it. It has some darker tones to it.
I really like it, and it's funny because I think there's a lot of debate among fans whether this or the Lonesome Crowded West is your favorite Modest Mouse album. And dude, hats off to fan of the show, my neighbor Joel, who as soon as he listened to the Lonesome Crowded West episode, he's like, dude, you guys got to do the Moon in Antarctica like that. That's my favorite one. And I was like, Joel, this one's for you, buddy.
It is. Well, if you ask me right now, man, I might slightly lean more towards Lonesome Crowded West.
I do too.
Man, but it's great because these are such different albums.
They are
such different albums, and I would love it if Pitchfork did a fucking documentary on this one. Like, man, it'd be badass because I just love to know more about it. Even when I was like looking stuff up, I couldn't find a ton of information. I did find some stuff. I found a really good article on it.
Yeah, that article you found was really good.
Yeah, it was a good find. I did my homework.
You did. You did.
Yeah. Well, dude, it was really trippy. I'm sure you read the same thing that I did, that, they recorded in Chicago and they had like all the instrumentation down.
Oh,
and
then
dude. Then the first day after putting in the vocals, they went to the bar. Dude, they went to the Empty Bottle.
Yeah, which
I've been to in Chicago. Dude, the Empty Bottle, that's where I saw Dr. Dog for the first time.
Oh,
is at the Empty Bottle.
Son of a biscuit.
I know. That was a long time ago, man.
Wow.
And that was a small place. Like, really small place.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, really small. But basically, story goes that they came back, parked their van, and they were staying on top of there's an apartment on top of the studio, and they were staying on top there, and they parked their van or whatever, and Isaac went over to talk to this group of guys who were hanging out in the park, and somebody just clocked him in the jaw.
Yeah, dude.
Broke his jaw.
I don't know why you would do that at that point in the night, like when you're fucked up. I would have just as I read that, like when it said he got punched in the park, I'm like, damn, that's weird. But then when I read more, it's like, oh, you're coming home late from the bar and you're going to like talk to people in their neighborhood in the city. Like, I could see that happening.
Yeah, just don't poke the bear, man. Just don't do it.
Yeah. There's no reason.
But yeah, dude. So he like went to the ER. He had surgery, and then his mouth was wired shut for
like 6 weeks.
Like 6 weeks. Like,
well, and I read later that he actually started pulling the wires out because they had played a couple gigs where he was kind of just like doing a piss poor job of spitting out what he could vocally, but they were going to play Coachella, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was.
He said there was like blood everywhere and all this stuff, but he got it sounds awful.
Yeah, it sounds really fucking horrible, man. Yeah, I will say, that is a really interesting story, and they ended up obviously putting the vocals, and I can't really tell a difference. I mean, I think the vocals on the album sound great to me.
Well, yeah, but they did them after, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is definitely one of the albums that I find, I don't know what your kind of experience is, but with a lot of the bands, I find my favorite albums, I was just, if I it took my top 5 or 10 bands, maybe not some from the 60s, but sort of anything from like my generation. Mm-hmm. I find albums like 2 through 4 are like usually my favorites that they've come out with. I can't say I've stayed up to date with a lot of the more recent Modest Mouse stuff, because I had heard a few things. And I was like, it's okay. But I mean, the 3 for me are Lonesome Crowded West, this one, and Good News for People Who Have Bad News. I mean,
dude, We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank is pretty good too. James Mercer actually is on several of the tracks as a backing vocalist, which is cool. Sweet. But yeah, dude, I know what you mean. I just
lost touch.
I did too, and I've heard some songs, and it's like they're not bad, but I just don't feel like they had kind of the edge that they had during this point. One thing that I think is interesting is the 2 different covers, right? Because I've seen both of them. I don't think that they actually took part of the picture from Pink Floyd Wish You Were Here, but I think it was heavily inspired by it with the shaking of hands. That's what we should do for our cover thing. It looks like we're shaking hands or the thing.
Definitely do.
But, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, so there were apparently what I heard is this album came out in 2000, and I guess 4 years later, Isaac Brock wanted to remix and remaster it, and then I think that's where there was like a newer album cover came out, or I don't know, something like basically a newer version,
and it looks like an iceberg or something with the sun behind it.
I don't know which one's first, but yeah. But a lot of people were kind of like, and even some reviewers were like, dude, this album's been out 4 years and you want to like remix it and everything. Like, he just like, he wasn't happy with it. So I don't know. I mean, exactly what version I have. I think I just have, I don't know, whatever one you can download. I don't know if I don't see like 2 different versions. Now I will say I was at the record store the other day, and there were 2 different pressings of Moon and Antarctica there with the same cover. And I couldn't really tell what the difference was and which one was which. I think one was an 180 gram pressing. I'm not sure if the other one was, but I just couldn't tell. They both looked like, hey, these are, it kind of looked the same thing, but you could tell that they were different versions. So
okay, I'm sure this is going to be a divisive line of questioning, but I'm going to ask it. Which cover do you like better?
Fuck. I like the iceberg.
I do too. I think that the shaking hands and stuff, although whether it was meant to be a nod to fucking Wish You Were Here, I'm sorry, it is. I mean, how can you have 2 people shaking hands and not think of Wish You Were Here?
Every time I shake someone's hand, I think of that.
I do too, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm on fire. On fire. Yeah. But I just think
you were Richard Pryor.
Yeah, artistically, I don't understand it. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because I neither see the moon or Antarctica or anything that really makes a whole lot of sense together contextually in a picture. But the other one actually looks like a giant like moon and some big iceberg that would somehow to me represent Antarctica, and maybe like a fisheye lens or something, you know?
It looks kind of trippy and stuff. I think it's funny how they both have the purple like tone.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay, we can't agree on, you know, the design, right, of the objects on the album, but we do want this color tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, so
whatever that Pantone code is.
Exactly. So, well, Graham, I think we've kind of exhausted the intro here, talking about the the album.
Yeah, we talked about getting punched.
I like what you done here.
I think everything else can be talked about in the context of the songs themselves. Oh, right. I do think, did you read about where the title came from? I did find this quite interesting.
Oh, yeah, I did. I took a note down, and now that you say something about it, I totally forget. Remind me.
Well, I guess that the album, it says the album's title is taken from the opening scene of 1982's Blade Runner, where the main character is reading a newspaper headlining the headline that says "Farming the Oceans, the Moon and Antarctica." Now, I don't even know how any of that makes sense in the English language. I don't know. I've heard of this idea of farming the oceans. I actually read a really interesting article about this in the Atlantic of like maybe not farming but mining, like mining in the deep sea oceans for minerals and stuff like that. And there's a lot of controversy on this subject about what, you know, should they do it or should they not, because there's several zones out there in the ocean that I guess you would say are in international waters, and theoretically a lot of different companies or countries could claim them. So that's kind of an interesting subject, but how that actually goes with the words the moon and Antarctica. Oh, unless they're farming the oceans, the moon. And Antarctica. Okay.
It could be. Yeah.
I think that has to be. That's the only like context I can see that making sense in. I don't know what you're going to farm from the moon. Maybe there's some really good shit under all the dust.
Yeah, but you think we would have probably like taken that by now?
Dude, Antarctica, man. A lot of sea ice, dude. I don't know what's under that sea ice, but some shit is there.
Well, yeah, water. It's fucking melting.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically, you could go under it, dude. A submarine went under the North Pole. Anyways.
All right, cool. This isn't fucking Our Planet on National Geographic, but dude, it does get to the first song. It's not Our Planet, but it could be the third planet.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I was going the whole time.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to get there. I just, had to
move it
grab
along.
Your hand and fucking yank it.
Move it along.
All right, Graham, let's move it along. Yeah. So, album starts. Third Planet. What do you think about this track right off the bat to open up the album, my friend?
I like it because it goes places, but it starts incredibly simply with one guy like in an acoustic guitar. And I think that's a really cool way to start the album. It's not some big crazy intro. It's to the point, and it's like how anything would start with a guy sitting in a room just picking at a guitar, and then it just kind of opens up from there. And I think that's cool.
No, I definitely agree with you there. It doesn't punch you in the face, and I find that with sort of I think maybe many of the songs on this album, they don't necessarily punch you in the face right away. In that typical Modest Mouse style, one thing they do and do really well is they can start slow and they can really ramp it up, and then they can bring it back down, and I find that I think of the Lonesome Crowded West. I feel like it's like
it starts off
if you have a heart rate monitor or something, or like a lie detector, it's going back and forth like the whole album.
Yeah,
but this one is more of like a more of like a rolling wave. I kind of feel like on this album. I mean, there are tracks that hit and rock, but I just feel like it's not constantly just driving the whole time.
One lyric that always stood out to me was the universe is shaped exactly like the earth. If you go straight long enough, you end up where you were. I've always appreciated that lyric.
Yeah. Dude, Isaac Brock's lyrics they're so cool. The way he plays with words is just exceptional.
Well, and you can tell he's a smart guy, and he's a thinker.
Definitely.
Yeah,
he is. Well, in a sense, his lyrics, the way he plays with words and does things, and I think he has been heavily influenced, and they talk about it in that Pitchfork Lonesome Crowded West documentary, when he was just being influenced by Bob Dylan a lot. The way Bob Dylan plays with words and stuff. I think Isaac Brock does it differently, but they both kind of play with words and mess around.
Well, I like it because even if he writes like a love song, it doesn't sound sappy and like Cheese Richard.
He's definitely not a sad. He's definitely not a sad sappy sucker now, is he?
I listened to that one today.
Oh yeah,
dude, always got a soft spot in my heart for that album. Dude, I think Worms versus Birds is one of the best Modest Mouse songs ever. No question.
It's fucking great. It is.
Anyways,
all right. Moving on, Gravity Rides Everything, track number 2. I figured that you would really like the beginning of this song with all the reverse sounds.
I was going to mention the reverse sounds really throughout the album.
Yes, there are. And
they did mention that that Brian Deck was kind of like pretty well versed in how to do a lot of stuff and played with some Pro Tools plugins and a lot of things.
Right.
And you can that really comes through. And I really like how they use the reverse like really subtly and almost to create space as opposed for effect. A lot of times in the album, and I think this is one because they have these things that sounds like sticks clicking, maybe claves, but almost more primitive, like drumsticks clicking. And sometimes they'll throw a backwards one in every once in a while, and it just kind of it's interesting, I think, for the listener, and I think it goes well with kind of the fast acoustic strumming, to set the rhythm for the song.
Absolutely, yeah, because it's kind of funny because I feel like at least the Lonesome Crowded West hits really kind of hard, and then this one starts and it's just different, which is great. They didn't do the same thing over again.
No, they did not.
And this one does start with the with those reverse sounds, but then the acoustic comes in just like really nicely and clean, and it's not all crazy and stuff. And
I like those reverse sounds because it's like a feedback or like a harmonic on an electric guitar with he loves the whammy bar, and I think they use it so good in that reverse way just to create a weird effect.
You kind of know when you're listening to a Modest Mouse song, not just from his words, but there's a lot of songs they'll have that like kind of sort of almost kind of like a choppiness when they start rocking really, but then he'll have the weird like warping kind of sounds to his guitar, all that stuff. He likes to do those fun things, and I guess one thing I didn't mention and cover before was when he was in the hospital, Brian Deck made him a demo, not a demo, but basically put on cassette what they had recorded to that point, just so Isaac could continue to listen to the songs. And he listened to them, and he was like, once he was in the hospital for like a week, he was like, I want to put more stuff in. He was like, we need to put more in. He was like, I want more guitars and everything. So I'd really be interested to see like what it was before and then what they put in after. I think kind of need to find out. But then move on to Dark Center of the Universe, which
here's where they start to get the first time glacial. I think you hear anything that's kind of like heavier.
Mm-hmm. That starts off. I mean, it is one of those things like I was talking about earlier where they can ramp it up and ramp it down like really good, and the song has that. But dude, it definitely rocks at parts, right?
Mm-hmm. But
And one thing they use in this album, now they use it a little bit in Lonesome Crowded West, but really the strings. There's strings in a lot of songs on this one. And I'm trying to think in Lonesome Crowded West, I think, what's the song? Jesus Christ is
an only child.
Whatever. Yeah, I think that's the one they mainly use strings in. But there's, I mean, a lot of the songs have strings on this album, which just adds another dynamic. And I'm really glad they utilized it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he's just got just some really, really good words. What does he say in this one? He says, well, it took a lot of work to be the asset I am, and I'm real damn sure that anyone can equally easily fuck you over.
Yeah.
Just like that, it's like kind of self-deprecating a little bit,
yeah.
But but he's honest, right?
Well, and he also mentions that he has his only art of fucking people over in Third Planet too, so it's kind of a reoccurring thing. Like he must have done somebody wrong, and have to atone.
Yep. Right. So, Perfect Disguise.
Yeah.
This song is a very chill song.
Oh,
like it doesn't have those it doesn't have the peaks and the valleys and the ups and the downs. It stays pretty consistent.
I love this song. I think his background vocals are so lush. They're just real spacey and thick, and he does several different layers of harmony. And I just and the other thing, so the article that you sent me and that we read about them recording this, which I think was from Spin.
I think it was Spin. Yeah, I think it was Spin.
They talk about this guy, Ben Blankenship, who was like billed as some guy who was a jack of all trades and who was going to come in there and do all this stuff. And then they said, I really don't know a whole lot of what he played. But when you look at his credits, he did play a lot of things. And one thing that I think is absolutely crucial of this song and the album is the banjo in this song. Sure.
It definitely is. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it just would not be the same song without that, and it adds this like striking, piercing kind of bit and this percussiveness to the song that wouldn't otherwise be there, I guess.
Yeah. Well, for some reason, the lyrics that always stood out to me in this song is when he says, "'Cause you cocked your head to shoot me down, and I don't give a damn about you in this town no more." I just find it funny, like just the image of you cocked your head to shoot me down. Like he like plays with those words a little bit, and I really love that, man.
And do you have the lyrics up in front of you? I don't, but
I don't.
Oh, because I think that his background lyrics that they sing over and over, I'm pretty sure he just says "rub my back." I think
broke my back.
Oh, broke my back. Okay.
Yeah. Broke my back.
Yeah, I can see that.
Sometimes, okay. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Well, when there's that much space,
so much space,
dude.
So much space,
and they explore it so well,
as they should.
Really awesome transition from here into Tiny Cities Made of Ashes, which I think. You had parts of other Modest Mouse songs prior that may have flirted with something like this, but there wasn't that was something so overtly almost like disco inspired in a way, but it's like weird disco.
Dude, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Punk disco.
Yeah, well, it's very just bass driven, right? Mm-hmm. Like the whole intro in the beginning of it's so bass driven. It's just, to me, I feel like this is such just like sort of a departure and different type of song for them. And there's just so many weird sounds and the way he sings it. And
because he's got his voice layered. He's doing like an octave up high, and then he's got a low one that's just like talking. And then I think he's got a whisper on top of that too. Which is one thing that I was going to mention about the album as the whole is, they did play a lot with space and brought in more additional instruments, but boy, they really did a lot more with his voice on this one.
Yeah.
You know, in
Yeah, they
terms of
definitely do.
like, it's not just every song isn't just like he doubles his voice or
Those
he
vocals,
just sings
yeah.
really heavy. Like they,
Yeah.
they did different things with all of it. And that's really cool.
Well, and I think that's a kind of a testament to what you were saying earlier with, you know, when you have more time, you have a budget, you can do those things. You can experiment with those things.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, and I know they use Pro Tools for this. I don't remember if we knew or we talked about how they record, if Lonesome Crowded West was more tape or digital.
My gut would tell me that based on what they were doing, it was probably not computers at that point because it was a little early for that. And if you did have that, it was probably really fucking expensive to have. And I don't think it was your standard, like, you know, 2-inch 24-track analog tape, because that is also very expensive equipment to have and maintain. My guess is it was like they made these things called ADAT machines. And, dude, they were digital recorders, and you'd put like what looked like a VHS tape in them.
Right.
And what you could do is you could daisy chain two of those together or maybe even more, and so that they would always sync up. So then you could just like, because an ADAT was only 8 tracks by its nature. So you could just daisy chain these things together to get more tracks and then mix that down to another ADAT or whatever.
Okay.
That
makes sense.
Yeah, and those were just, once I started recording, ADAT was just starting to kind of like dinosaur itself or go away.
Okay.
But they were still selling them and making them when I like got into recording kind of early in college.
Sweet. Yeah. Sweet. All right. Well, we go from tiny city made of ashes into a different city.
Dude,
and,
real quick though, I am gonna make those T-shirts that say "The world is my ashtray" because that is such a fucking good lyric.
It is a good lyric. Big fan of it.
Different city.
So a different city
with no friends and family.
Dude, this one has some great words, but dude, it also really, really freaking rocks from the beginning too.
Oh, it does.
You know, and I love the flows of this song and just kind of how it moves along, man.
Yeah.
It's really nice. I find that the transitions are
yeah, they are good.
The way it goes.
I really enjoy. I'm watching TV. I guess that's a solution. That is fucking classic,
dude. Yeah, dude. There's so many fucking good lines. He's like, oh, where is that? I have it. Through the cracks in the wall, slow motion for all, dripped out of the bars. Some smart said nothing at all. I'm watching TV. I guess that's what he says. They gave me a receipt, said I didn't buy nothing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look out the window of my colored TV. That is pretty freaking cool. And I also love the way, dude. You know, then moving into the cold part where it's, dude, so dark.
Actually,
man.
I said is they do that with the lyrics. They're like, you know,
yeah,
it's funny,
dude. But I love, and I don't know. I mean, I don't want to talk about them together, but they do flow in the cold part and All Alone Down There. But dude, the cold part is cold part is one of my favorite tracks on the album. Dude,
me too. Me too.
Dark. Again, it's got the violins. It just sets kind of just a great mood. You know, the song sounds and feels like what it's about, right? Like,
well, yeah, and that to me is like the Antarctica part because it sounds cold. It feels like it's got this huge space. I mean, it's just. Man, it's really, really well done. And the violin. And now, was Tyler Riley, the guy who played violin on this, was this the same guy that played on Lonesome Crowded West?
I don't know that.
Okay. I don't
but maybe,
either.
But maybe they know that. So why don't
yeah,
we
so if any of the fans could set us straight there, please do.
Please do.
But in the meantime, I'm still going to look it up because I want to know.
Sweet. Fucking fine. Well, I'll move on to All Alone Down There. Because I feel the songs really just kind of continue into each other a little bit.
I don't want you to be alone down in the cold part.
Yeah, exactly.
If they would have made them one track, I think that would have been the title.
Yeah, that makes sense. But dude, this again, he sings this.
Yeah, it was Tyler Riley.
Okay, good. All right.
Just so you know.
All right. Tyler Durden. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it is kind of a a continuation, and I really love how it's he sings it really eerily. But dude, when this song fucking picks up,
oh yeah, it hits,
rocks, dude. It is. I love it, and I one thing I do love about Isaac Brock is the way he can kind of scream his words and scream and sing. He's really, really good at that. He can just
very percussive and
dude, let it fucking rip, right? Mm-hmm. I think my favorite line though, dude. But the Devil's Apprentice, he gave me some credit. He fed me a line that I probably regret it. Oh man, dude, just that's so fucking good, dude.
Now, I had read in the article you sent me that they tried doing a lot of weird things with different bits of alternative percussion. And one thing that they mentioned was the cold part. And they mentioned a couple of very weird implements. One of these was a vibrator and a bedpan, which I think the bedpan, there's times where it sounds like someone's like shaking something like a piece of sheet metal. And maybe that's that. Can't really say where I'm picking up the vibrator in there, but who knows?
Yeah.
Did I read that wrong? I'm pretty sure that's what it said.
No, I read a vibrator too.
Okay, good. So it wasn't just a clever name.
No, better than the Accommodator. Google that. Not on your work phone.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how you see your career tracked.
Yeah, Kachindo.
Yeah. Oh, anyways, man. Yeah.
Moving on. The Stars Are Projectors. Yeah, dude, this song is almost 9 minutes.
I know,
and I feel like whenever when I looked at that today, I was like, holy shit!
But it goes a lot of places, man. That's the thing.
It does it, but it just doesn't feel like it to me. I guess I'm like it's a 9 minute song, and I guess I'm a nine. Well, I don't mind Trucker's Atlas really, and that's over 10 minutes. But I was like, it does go in so many different places that it doesn't feel like it to me. So
yeah, no, I hear you. And I like the story that they talked about recording this, where they had tried so many takes and they couldn't get it right, and so it was like in the evening, at like 8 p.m. or something. And he said he just dimmed the lights to get the right atmosphere, and like they played it and everyone knew it was a take. Like that. That's just a cool story.
Fucking nailed it. Yeah, absolutely it is. And you could see that for this type of song, because it does have that sort of kind of deeper emotional sort of feel. It is a little darker and whatnot, and you just like, man, yeah, you just want to, it's a song you want to set the mood for, I think.
Now, knowing how bands record music and what kind of people do in their creative space, one comment from the article that I found interesting was how he says we dimmed the lights and adjusted our attitudes and then went into this with it. I'm pretty sure that means that everybody just kind of got baked.
And rightly so. You should.
After you've done like how many takes of a song have been unsuccessful, like you just need a little bit of a mental recharge. But I thought they said it in a very nice way, which I've said that before too. I'm like, I could really use an attitude adjustment today.
Yeah, you just need to get right in that. You just need to get right in the head,
dude. You do.
Now, if you tell your daughter she needs an attitude adjustment, I have a feeling you're not.
Typically, that means a timeout. But
yeah, okay.
For Dad, it means what they call a relaxment.
Adult time, exactly. So then we kind of go into a different direction after that song with Wild Pack of Family Dogs, which I always thought is kind of what I was saying earlier about Stars Are Projectors being so long. I was actually surprised at how short this song is at just under 2 minutes. And
I was going to mention that it feels longer to me than that, and not because I don't like it. It is one of my favorite songs on the album as well, but it does feel a little longer than that.
It's just a funny kind of little song. And what I found interesting is like the feel of the song is kind of like real sort of kind of upbeat or happy-go-lucky a little bit, just a little whatever. But dude, the words are fucking dark, man.
Yeah, I know.
Dogs took his sister away and she was eaten up. Okay, like oh my gosh, like you're like, wow, that's fucked up.
You know, a couple things, and they didn't talk about it in this article either. But I hear a lot of percussion that I can only assume Jeremiah Green must have played the percussion parts, and Isaac Brock playing the guitar.
Probably.
But they talk about keyboards in track 11, which is they don't talk about anything in 10. Sorry.
No.
Which I was going to say that threw me off because I hear an accordion in there. And there's no credits. There's no credits for this.
Huh.
But you hear the accordion. I mean, Christ, anyone who's heard the song.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, I hear it now, and I'm not even listening to the fucking song. You're right. I 100% hear that.
The only thing I was thinking when I mistakenly read 11 was that they may have just like done it on a really good sample on like a keyboard or something, but it did. No one's even credited as playing like keyboard or really anything on this song, which is interesting because that accordion is like a very integral part of the song, in my opinion. Not to say you couldn't have it without it, but it's kind of a nice little program.
Nice little program. Not that I've ever watched it,
but
yeah. Well, Grim, these walls, they're pretty fucking paper thin, bro. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this track, man?
I like it. I remember the first time I saw them. I think they were on tour. Yep, they were on tour for Good News for People Who Love Bad News. So I think they opened with The World at Large, and I want to say this was like the second song that they played, which I really liked because it kind of brought the tempo of like the feeling of the whole thing up.
Right. Well, that's the one thing I love about this song is just the energy. It just has such good energy. The way it moves. It must be a fucking fun song to play.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's not overly like heavy or anything, but you're right. It does bring so much energy. Yeah,
the energy. Yeah, and I was gonna say like I do remember this song being performed live and being like, oh fuck yeah, dude, paper thin walls. All right, cool.
Yeah, and it was cool because I liked Good News for People Who Love Bad News, but if people thought that their breakout was this album, I mean, it was really that album. And I know that even our friend Alex, who I mentioned earlier in the episode, who got me into Modest Mouse, felt like that album was kind of a sellout, where I was like, man, I don't know if I'd call it a sellout. I guess I can see where it's more commercial, but it's certainly not like mainstream radio rock.
Well, that's the hard thing is when all of a sudden you do have a song that's being played on, just so many radio stations. It had a music video.
Well,
right?
dude,
like,
in The World at Large and Float On are kind of poppier.
Dude, they're poppy, upbeat hits. And, well, dude, I mean, fuck. And those are the songs you're going to put out as singles because they are like the upbeat
I know.
Hits
and that's why I understand why there was... why there was sort of a departure of like, hardcore fans at that point, because, you're like, this is the same fucking band that put out the Lonesome Crowded West. This is fucking wimpy.
Yeah.
I get that. But there were a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff on that album though, despite those tracks that were more hits that I really liked. And that was dark and unique in its own way.
Dude,
like Satin in a Coffin.
Satin in a Coffin.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah. Anyways, man, I feel like I need to listen to that album again. Shit, it's been a while.
Oh, and I love the weird like horn thing that was the intro, and then they played it halfway through the album. Like that was a nice bridge.
I hope if anybody owns this on vinyl and can verify if you own Good News.
Oh, tell me the second side starts with that.
Oh, I was just going to say, no, tell me that the disc is pink. Like, I feel like the disc just needs to be pink. I think that would be fucking cool, man. Because, like, the color scheme of the cover is, like, pink and green,
well,
right?
Here's what we need to look for.
Okay.
What we need to look at is what's 4850, dude.
the album is. Can you fit that on one?
God damn it. Probably. Oh,
Cut out the fucking horn intro.
No, they put some other song between Bury Me With It and Dance. Oh, in the dual edition of the album, and is the last track on the vinyl release. That sucks, dude, because, man, that would have been such a good one to do as one vinyl.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyways,
that really is a good album. Yeah, anyways.
It is, yeah. So, I Came As a Rat, another one of my favorite songs on the album.
I like this. It kind of reminds me, weirdly enough, as of the song Rats, for different reasons, but as of the song Rats on the Kinks' Lola versus the Power Man and the Money Go Round. It kind of comes at a similar spot in the album. It's got, same kind of sentiment.
Well, and I don't know if this was... I don't know. This a couple lines always stood out to me, but he's like, I don't know, but I've been told, like, that just reminds me of Tom Petty, Mary Jane's Last Dance.
Oh yeah,
right?
oh
like,
for sure.
And so I was like, oh, is he poking fun at it, just playing with it, or just whatever?
I think it's a good nod.
Yeah, but he does have a lot of really kind of good lines. But I love it when he says like, I came too soon, so I came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, cool, man. All right. That makes sense.
And I like how he uses the line, I came clean. Because that's like owning up to something. It's just a weird way to go with that cadence, but to like offer up a different sort of sentiment, I guess, in the...
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Lives.
Yeah. Some of that, like reverse acoustic kind of
definitely
stuff.
Yeah.
But then it kind of goes into like another feel, when he says it's hard to remember. It's hard to remember.
Yeah. Right. It gets lighter. When he kind of goes into that, and it has more of a acoustic strumming going. But then the violin playing comes in and really adds like a nice texture to the song.
It does.
I feel like it's utilized really well. And dude, one of the lines that stands out, he's like, if I had a nickel for every damn dime, I had half the time, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good one. And I love the changes because it's a longer song. Or maybe mid.
Are we talking about Life Like Weeds?
No, Lives. I guess.
Okay.
I guess it seems like there's more there because of all the dynamics and changes in it than 3 minutes and 19 seconds.
It goes. Yeah. No, it moves along. It definitely goes some places for sure. But Life Like Weeds is, I believe it's the second longest song on the album at 6.5 minutes. Which is. That's one thing I like about Modest Mouse is they're not afraid to, like, all their songs aren't like, hey, 3 to 4 minutes. Like, dude, they'll put in some longer songs on albums. And the opening of this song, I guess I'll just say the song as a whole, it incorporates so much of what you've kind of heard in the album. It has some strange guitar sounds. There's a bunch of different guitar sounds. And a bunch of different like vocal things. Again, we were talking earlier about some of their previous and some of the previous songs where they really experimented with some different vocal sounds and layering and whatnot. I feel like this song really exemplifies that too. What are you reading there, Graham? I can just keep going.
No, you can. No, I hear you. One thing, what I always liked about Life Like
Fine,
Weeds,
I'll just carry the episode if you want
go
me
ahead.
to.
You know what? I'm just going to stop my recording and, dude, you can sign off.
No, keep it recording. I just want an empty chair there.
Dude, Life Like Weeds, I love how it starts out, and dude, it reminds me of the way the guitar strumming is of Lounge Closing Time.
Oh, dude,
you know what I mean?
That song.
Yeah, and
totally, man.
And then it totally breaks up.
Yeah, it does.
But
you're absolutely right. It has that.
And I know that I'm a rock to you in this Life Like Weeds as I was reading lyrics.
This Life Like Weeds.
You're a rock to me, E.E.
Mm-hmm.
But this song again does a lot of changing, and it's weird because I remember in my mind this was just a short song because it has those like two parts, and then when I was listening to the album after several years, right?
You say it's been a while.
I was like, damn, that's like, what is that? Second to only The Stars Are Projectors.
Yeah, it is, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then we go to the last song, What People Are Made Of. And dude, I feel like this is probably the hardest song on the album.
Yeah.
And it's a dramatic way. Dude, I feel like this is their shit luck on this album.
Dude, I love it because the lyrics are hard.
I like the song better than shit luck, but
me too. But one thing that I really love is when they kind of break a lot of it up and the only thing left is the drums and just that thick fucking fuzz bass, dude. That is never underestimate a good fuzz bass. You can't.
Love some fuzz. No, don't. Why would you want to?
Oh, you're foolish to even think about it.
Yes, you are. All right, Rin Tin Tim, time to scratch this MF.
I think so, dude.
And I don't know. I forget the last album we did.
I feel like I've been on the side episodes. I've been doing a lot of stuff first here, so I think you're on the tee for scratching. So, make sure you get a good tee height. Really just size up that shot and go.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to scratch one song that I heard you mention earlier that it's actually one of the songs you like and one of your favorites, and that's Wild Pack of Family Dogs. Because I don't think this song fits the album. I just don't.
Wow.
Like it doesn't have
Family Dogs, dude.
It doesn't do. It just doesn't do anything for me. It has and not just because it's the shortest song on the album. Size does matter, but that's not the case here. It's just.
I think it has girth, not length.
Soup can. So it just doesn't. It doesn't do a whole lot for me. I think it's a fun, cool little song, but if it was removed from the album, I wouldn't miss it. It doesn't. It has this. I mean, the lyrics are kind of darker and everything, but I feel like it just kind of doesn't fit. Not that this. I mean, I guess I don't know if you want to say this is a concept album or whatever, but it just. It just doesn't, like that theme of telling the story of a wild pack of family dogs, running through the yard, like that to me doesn't kind of fit.
Okay.
With it. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because if the Stars Are Projectors did go right into Paper Thin Walls, that it would be an interesting transition. I am gonna have to throw out in this case the customary.
What the fuck is that shit?
Because. Dude, I like this song so much. As much as I see your point, I still have a hard time.
What's the point, Ventura?
A hard time just thinking about this album without this song.
Okay. All right. Well, let me know what song you can think about this album without.
Well,
that makes
dude,
sense.
And I may get one of those right back. But we know we're not going to overtime. And, dude, I have no problem thinking about this album without the song A Different City. I shouldn't say no problem, but if I have to scratch one, it's A Different City. I've skipped it before.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Yeah.
Again, don't think it's a bad song in any way, and I'm not going to say it doesn't even fit the album, but there's just something about it. The way the riff comes in, it's just a little musically. It's not the most pleasing thing to my ears.
Okay, I'd have a hard. I don't know. I'd have a hard time scratching that one. I don't know if it's full. What the fuck is that shit? Really? But yeah.
I'm still going to overlay that sound effect right there.
Okay, that's fine. I will say, here's the thing. I could, not that we're, not to play God, but
but here I go.
Here I go. I'm gonna give it my best shot. I wouldn't mind so I had a backup. My second song backup was What People Are Made Of. And not because, here's the thing though. Hold up. Hear me out, motherfucker.
Okay.
All right, it's not because I don't like the song, but I feel like you could end the song with Life Like Weeds and you can move What People Are Made Of to another spot.
That's interesting.
That's
okay.
kind of, because just kind of like I feel like ending the album with basically what I feel like is the hardest song on the album.
Oh yeah.
You know,
real heavy.
When it does have, the album to me has this kind of, you know, glacial, spacey feeling to it.
And this is a lot more like punkish.
Yeah, it is. It is. Shit luck, man. Shit luck.
Well.
All right. Well, I think we're officially scratched here, my friend. For all you people who are hopefully still with us, running at close to an hour, we're going to wrap this up real quick. Comment below, disagree below, agree below.
Yeah. What would you scratch?
Tell us we're full of shit, or tell us, man, right on, Dude and Grim. I would
shake
scratch
somebody's
those songs.
hand for sake of the cover.
That's right. That's right. So, all right, Grim. I think until next time, happy hump day, everybody. Right?
It's good. Yeah, I'm just about out of this old-fashioned, duder.
All right. Let me know if you find the answer to life down there. All right. It's time to go.
It's down. Let me take another look. It's down there.
Let me take another look. All right. Time to go. Dude and Grim Show.
Scratch a Track is produced by the Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by Moore and the Tims. Copyright 2021. The Dude and Grim Show.
Well, I think I'm going away.